Will Goldstein here again, thekingscourt.com, and always a chance to subscribe down there by hitting that little button there. I'm doing Screwtape letters. This is number 3. Screwtape letters is by C.S. Lewis, and he's a Christian writer. Most people know who he is. It's all on demonic activity, I guess you would say, or the demonic realm, as suggested in the title of this video. Screwtape, the uncle, is writing to his nephew, another demon, Wormwood. And so it starts off, in man's relationships with his mother, press your advantage. The enemy, working from the center outwards, brings the patient's conduct under the new standard. Keep touch with Glubos, who is in charge of the mother. Build up a habit of mutual annoyance, daily pinpricks. Keep his mind and his attention turned to the states of his own mind. This is all you should allow him to see. Keep aggravating that most useful characteristic, the neglect of the obvious. Bring him to a condition in which he can practice self-examination without discovering any of those facts about himself which are clear to anyone who knows him and has ever lived with him or worked with him. Since it is impossible to prevent his praying for his mother, render those prayers innocuous. Place his attention kept on her sins. With guidance from you, he can be induced to actions that are irritating to himself. Keep rubbing the wounds of the day while he is on his knees praying. You will find it very entertaining. His ideas about her soul will be often erroneous. He will be praying for an imaginary person. Your task is to make that imaginary person less and less like the real mother. In time, no thought or feeling from his prayers for the imagined mother will ever flow into his treatment of the real mother. When two humans have lived together for many years, it usually comes about that each has a voice and expression which are irritating to the other. Make him think how much he dislikes it. Let him assume she knows and does it to annoy him. Never let him suspect he annoys her. Hatred expresses itself best in a voice like a blow to the face. Keep this game up. These two must have a double standard. Your patient must demand his utterances be taken at face value, while at the same time judging his mother's utterances with oversensitive interpretation of tone and context. She must be encouraged to do the same. From every quarrel, they can both go away convinced they are quite innocent. In other words, he's trying to create war, continual animosity between the son and the mother. Once this habit is established, you have a human saying things with the express purpose of offending, yet having a grievance when offense is taken. Again, I'm paraphrasing this. I'm not reading it exact. It would take me too long. And so now I'm going to turn to an analysis of this. I mean, there's really a lot of psychology involved in this demonic psychology. But anyway, going back to the beginning, the situation is that the young man has become a Christian, and the enemy, according to the demons, is really God in the Holy Spirit that now dwells within this person if he's a true Christian. And the goal of the Holy Spirit is to work outward from the very center of the person and to start to take control of every aspect of the person's life, to control his speech, to control his actions, even his thoughts, and to restructure everything in his character by means of the presence of God and the Holy Spirit within him. And so now the uncle, Screwtape, has a plan to tell Wormwood that your patient is now under this new standard that I just described. And so in order to undo that, he recommends that he keep in touch with his colleague, the demon that's in charge of the mother. And so the idea is that they are to work together to build up tension between them as they habitually annoy one another with what he calls daily pricks. Screwtape gave some means for doing this. He is supposed to encourage the son to keep his attention on his own mind, focusing on all the problems within his own soul. A diversion which keeps him from focusing on love for his mother and other people. What you've done would bring peace, of course. So if he focuses on keeping his mind on his own problems, this is all that the demon should allow him to see, his own problems. And the idea is, poor me. You know, he's now a Christian and he's got his mother, and his mother's got a lot of issues, and he's not really fully equipped at this point to deal with that. He goes on to say that it's all very useful and aggravating characteristic to neglect the obvious. This is some advice that he gives the uncle to Wormwood, bringing him into this new state so that even if he does practice self-examination, he is unable to really discover anything factual about himself. In reality, everyone else who knows him in the workplace or at home, to them, it's obvious what's going on. Due to the condition of his mother, he is likely going to pray for her, and so the objective here is to keep him from praying for her at all, if possible. And if he does fail in doing that, he needs to be directed to all her sins, to the nitpicking of anything that she potentially does, so that he becomes very irritated with her. The demon is to use all his tools in order to produce this irritation in the son. And it's a way of rubbing into the wounds. Then he says to his nephew, "You'll find this very entertaining." For the demons, of course, entertainment is the misery of their patients. The demon is also to strive to make it so that any ideas that he has about his mother's soul are erroneous, so that when he goes to pray for her, he's really praying for a person that doesn't exist. It's an imaginary person, and the further he is able to alter the reality of who his mother is, then his prayers become less effective, because he's praying not for a real person in reality, but praying for an imaginary person, because his mind has been twisted by this demon into a state of non-reality, so that in the end nothing matters, because he's not really praying for a real person. And this is according to the thinking of Screwtape in his message to Wormwood, his nephew. When people who have lived together for a long time, they know the tone and voice and the looks that come from people in their own family, and the expressions that they have on their face sometimes. And anyone who lives with someone else for a long time can, that is, if people do not control themselves and keep themselves in order, well, the situation can develop into a state where the person is very irritated by the other person. So the demons really want to take advantage of this on both sides. People who have suffered this often want to escape and wander off to be alone instead of having to confront the person, because they're very bothersome. And of course, the demon's role is to amplify this so that he notices it more and more and dislikes it more and more. And then, of course, he has to make it even worse by the fact that he believes that she knows that she's annoying him, and perhaps is enjoying this even like a demon would. To infuriate the situation even more, hatred expresses itself by saying something really disgusting, super irritating, and that's like a blow to your face. And this is all fun and games for the demons to watch and to, of course, induce through their minds. One of the main tools that these demons have is the tool of double standard. It's a way of looking at things where there is no justice. In God's economy, there is justice. What's just for one is just for all. In the demon's economy, it's the opposite. Because this world is greatly influenced by demons, the world that we live in, that's why there really is no justice in this world, or rarely, due to the fact that there's a lot of demonic activity that's going on in this world. The devilish, and it is devilish, demonic, double standard can happen in any family situation or any encounter with another human being. It is expressed in the idea of the perpetrator as, I'm free to do whatever I want, but you are not. So, of course, then the person who is perhaps a narcissistic person is going to demand that what he says must have face value. And, of course, because he's based his life on narcissism, then anything that the other person says to defend himself is going to be viewed as judging with an oversensitive interpretation with tone and context. In other words, I'm innocent, you are guilty, so that now in this reality, justice has been reversed. He has flipped the tables so there is no justice at all. His justice is only what's right for him in each circumstance. You're wrong in whatever you say, and I'm right in I'm free to do as I please. And in this system of justice, the perpetrator views himself always as innocent, no matter what he does. And you're always guilty, no matter what you do, and will be held accountable. So, of course, this can lead to a lot of quarrels, especially if one of the people has a good sense of justice. And this, of course, is a good day for the demons. So that in the end, in this sort of situation, the one that is most guilty has convinced himself or herself that he or she is quite innocent. This is the kind of friction that this demon is trying to put into the mind, both of the son and the mother. The demons have the express purpose of always finding grievance and offense, yet being free to trample you and do anything to you, but you must not complain. Of course, this is viewed as intolerable to anyone who has any ethics and standards or any sense of justice. So just look at what's been happening in politics in the United States of America, the Biden administration, all the projection that's going on, and people are guilty, and of course the very things that they're guilty of, they're projecting onto their opponent. In other words, the radical Democrats were saying that Trump is, this isn't a political site, but Trump is a monster or a tyrant or whatever, and conversely, Trump has said things, and each one is calling each other the liar. It's this sort of activity that's just constantly creating havoc and turmoil in the world, and that's exactly what these demons are trying to do in the relationship between the son and his mother.